I just think we need a jingle, is my long and short of that.
An inflation weekly jingle.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
When we get to it, Dr. 10% has to go, oh, chimpanzee that, fucking inflation weekly. Oh, Janet Yellen that. Oh, inflation weekly.
We are back, the world's most bullish podcast, once again brought to you by the 4Bs, Mr. All In, aka the Trillion Dollar Man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and so we are only at 50% capacity because Mrs. No Show is still Mrs. No Show, no surprise there. But yes, but Dr. Evil 10%, aka the every the people's champ, not the everyday man, the people's champ isn't here. He's sunning himself on holiday.
Yeah. He probably needs a holiday, doesn't he, Mr.
Yeah.
I've heard he uses up to 10% of his brain capacity on a daily basis. So
He probably does, and he needs to refresh and recharge because recently he's been going all in with the memes. He's been going all in with inflation, and he just needs to get away.
he does. He needs to go off and just separate his thoughts and just because I've had some feedback from some of our or one of our biggest listeners, i.e., the only person we speak to that listens to this is my bro. So
yeah. Young MBA. Shout out.
Everyone else that I've kind of told about this probably either doesn't listen anymore or doesn't talk to me about it. It's fine. There's only so many hours you can listen to like us just chatting shit about the same stuff.
But that's the feedback that we have. Silence.
Yeah. But they'll listen back one day and
I looked on YouTube. There's quite a few views, and obviously through the streaming services, I'm sure we've got an avid fan base somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's literally just beyond us now, isn't it? I think there's people we know, I think, dip in and out. And I think a lot of them actually listen to the podcast, and then the YouTube crowd, I think, are totally new, and it can be anything from 30 to 1,000.
Yeah,
it's but yeah, the feedback was that the pod when we first started, I was kind of the extremist on it, really, and and you guys would be balancing me out a bit and challenging me, and if anything, that was good because you would get me to explain my points better, yourself and Dr. Evil 10%. But then as the episodes have gone on, we've all just pretty much grouped together over where I was. You've just been pulled in. We don't do the tinfoil hats anymore. You barely question anything I say, and if anything, you're saying it first, and I just kind of go, "Oh, that's what I was going to say." Okay, and so it's one of them where I think it's an interesting point of the pod where we started off probably with we're probably all three quite. I don't know whether it's politically or economically. Even though we felt we were aligned, we probably did have lots of differences of opinion. And then over the year and a half, or over the 86 episodes, 87 today, slowly but surely, we've all been debating things. Obviously, we're not trusting, we're verifying. All the stories are here, all the receipts are there. We've slowly but surely, that triangle is just grouped together. And now the 3 points are pretty much in the same spot in the middle. And so now it's just 3 people just talking about issues that they all just agree on. And but I don't think there's anything we can do about it unless someone just plays devil's advocate for the sake of playing devil's advocate. We just bring in some woke lefty, like vegan lesbian, and just go, okay, just put them in seat 4 and just go ham on us every week, and we just destroy them every week. It needs to be genuine, doesn't it? And I think our differences before, we were still aligned probably on 80% of stuff. There's 20% is where the interesting conversation is. But then over the episodes, I think you do end up aligning because It's just it's just the data just leads you to one position, doesn't it? And I think it's hard to get away from that one position. And so I don't think it was the feedback was positive or negative. It's just a comment on an observation. And but I don't think there's anything we can do about it to rewind it to make it more interesting, to have more arguments, because they'd be fake, wouldn't they? I could disagree with you all day, but yeah.
I think it was also like experience and knowledge. Like naturally we would listen and take in and observe what you were saying. And for me, it was like, I've got to consume more. And I still, to this day, I'm still consuming more, because Bitcoin is ever consuming of, okay, what about this? And some of the stories that we'll go into today in terms of our agenda, I just think, wow, I know nothing. Even though I don't, I still know nothing. And so, you know, we finally came up in terms of our knowledge and having the ability and the confidence to also be the ones to talk about the stories first and say, well, actually, this is what I found and this is what I believe. And then, as you say, you'll agree and maybe not even need to add in 2 pennies worth as well. Yeah. But I questioned myself, because as I was driving home and I'm there racing to get back to be on time, I'm thinking, fuck me, I love Tuesdays. I absolutely love Tuesdays, and I am so toxic when it comes to it. And then as we talk throughout the week, as you know, every day, and I see your rants maybe on LinkedIn or it might be on Twitter, I'm like, man, that's what freedom looks like. Gosh, give me a taste of freedom. And I share it with my friends and I say, boys, this is what freedom looks like. And those that don't or are not fully orange pilled yet. And goes back to what you're saying about the receipts, because I'm just continuing to drop in these things. And I know I probably sound like how you sounded like to me and to Dr. Evil 10% off. Well, here he goes again. He's talking his Bitcoin shizzle again. And oh, he's all out of fear. You know, he's all in Bitcoin, all out of fear. And, you know, is so woke when it comes to the financial education of money. And I'm like, yeah. And I want you to be too. And I'll continue to do it because I care about you. And I want you to feel this feeling and to be free. And so in years to come, you'll be like, oh, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for not giving up.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Because usually if someone is shilling a stock or something, they're doing it because they want the price to go up and they just want you in. But Bitcoin's just different, because whether they come in or not now doesn't really matter. Like, it's just, I would like the people that I know and I'm friendly with to be on this journey. And so when fiat collapses, I don't want them to lose everything. I want them to have some money and have a good start in the Bitcoin standard world. But people just don't get that bit. It's too much of a leap. They just go, you're just shilling your bags. You go, what? And it's like, well, if I am, like, I don't give a shit. Don't buy it then. Just when it comes to it, just you say, I told you so for yourself. I'm not even going to say it, but just remember this conversation. Like, it's not a stock. It isn't a thing. Like, money is going to collapse. This is the new form. You move to it now, as soon as possible, but don't do it if you don't want to. I'm just telling you, it's like, literally, it's like we always use this analogy, but we're going down the Titanic. I'm in the life raft already. I'm going, I've got a seat next to me. Jump now. Jump. You're like, oh, but you're sat at the front. Yeah, I am, because I jumped first, but you can sit next to me. Oh, I want to sit at the front. You can't sit at the front. I can't, like, for whatever reason, I can't move position. Like, I would if that really mattered.
I can't key jump you.
Yeah, it's like, look, I fucking jumped an hour ago, okay? But I've saved the life raft for you. Just jump now. And they're like, oh, I'm not sure it's going to go down yet. Your boat looks a bit rocky. You're just shilling your boat. You're trying to make money out of your boat. I'm like, no, it's a life raft. Your boat. Look back on the Titanic. There's a huge fucking iceberg in the side of it, and it's taking on water. You're going down. Jump. I'm not doing this for me. I can sail away on this life raft, whether you're on it or not. It's just I prefer if you were on it. I'm trying to help you here, and I like, nah. The captain says the boat's fine, so I'm staying. You go, look. I know he's saying it's fine. He's a fucking liar. Look at the boat yourself. Don't trust. Verify. Look at the boat.
Is Biden the captain?
Point. Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few captains, isn't there? There's Gary Gensler, Joe Biden, Klaus Schwab. Who else could we throw in the whole fiat? Like, the IMF. Janet Yellen.
I was going to say the three witches.
Yeah.
Yellen and I've forgotten the other two now. But
yeah, but there's a few out there.
Pretty much anyone in the media talking economics. They're the people, right? That are taking, like you said, they're all taking word ultimately from the WEF and the Fed and all that, and they're coming down, and then you're getting individual speakers, and it's just like, oh yeah, they're going around their Titanic and asking the person in charge of safety, is everything okay? And of course, they are all told to go, don't tell them that it's going down. We want to get on the life raft first. So lie to them, tell them everything's fine. We're getting off first.
Yeah.
And so of course, the incentives around are not aligned. Like, just use your brain. If the boat's going down and there's not enough life rafts for everyone, you don't be honest, do you? You don't tell them the truth. They exit out of fiat first. They get into other assets, and then when it all blows up, then they're fine, and you're left on the Titanic drowning. And you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But
we've got these digital receipts that will be permanently here for forever, so our grandkids can look at them and watch them and say, geez, my great granddad was a crazy bastard.
Yeah.
I love him for it.
if the pod and the YouTube channel is still up by then, I'll be impressed. I'm sure at some point someone's gonna use the AI algorithm to go through looking for key phrases and words and go, they fucked up a long time ago and many times. They've infringed us so many. The only reason I think we haven't been banned is because we haven't got big enough for anyone to report us yet.
Yeah.
And the only people I think have found it, other than some people on YouTube that have got the algorithm's got them. Most people know us, so if they reported us, that'd be really fucking snaky. But it tends to be the reporting that does you.
Yeah.
Every time I've got banned, it's
talking from experience.
It's largely because one of your replies or tweets goes viral, and then you get a load of reports, and then once it's being reported, you get auto banned, and to get unbanned, someone has to manually look at it and go, well, should we unban him? And then you're in trouble now because you've got one of these woke people that sit in compliance going, is this enough to be banned? And based on a lot of the things that I say, that based on the fact that they are living by US government standards of what you can and can't say, everything I say is speaking out against them. So they just go, no, let's silence that. Like that's not allowed.
Funny, isn't it? Freedom of speech is no longer free.
Yeah. It's kind of genius as well, isn't it? Because they put it all onto these private platforms. The internet isn't. You can say what you want on the internet per se. If me and you set up a little chat room, we can say what the fuck we want on the 4bspodcast.com. But no one would be there. The audience is on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and that's where all the censorship and moderation is. And so there's no free speech on there. And when you sign up, it says there's no free speech on there. There is censorship. There are rules. So you agree to it when you go in. Obviously, they change them when you're in there as well. But then, where else do you speak on the internet? They're the places, right? And YouTube, of course, and Spotify. So in reality, the internet used to be the freest place ever to say your piece. Now, because it's all centralized around about 4 or 5 companies, they all have virtually identical terms of service, which largely says you can't speak out against the US government. And if you do, then you'll be banned. it pretty much means we don't have free speech on the internet. You have more free speech just talking individually to each other. Outside of it, you can say whatever you want, and yeah, weirdly, the real world is actually safer than the online world. It used to be the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. It's IRL, in real life, as the kids will say.
We need a decentralized internet, don't we? As well as decentralized money.
Imagine that.
We need another Satoshi.
Bring it on. Well, should we get into the first story?
Oh yeah, that's what we're here for, isn't it?
That's what we're here for. I mean, we could chat all day and rant about. I mean, I'm off this week, so I'm good for time. Yeah, it's and Dr. Evil 10%, he does love a good bedtime. You know, for anyone that isn't aware, you know, we record at night, and he's always itching to be like, oh, the bed. I need my sleep.
Yeah. Normally you're like putting the kids to bed or something, aren't you? You're like, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And he sends a snotty reply. Like, we have to get started straight away then.
We have to get started.
No chit chat.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
And then he's all in
20
the
minutes of bed he buys.
Yeah. Well, I know he'll be listening and he'll be hooking up onto this pod. Probably as he's getting a manicure or something whilst on holiday.
Yeah, well, sucking off some tramp somewhere.
That's probably more realistic, isn't it?
It's probably why he's gone abroad, isn't it? You can get more business when you travel.
Yeah.
For sex work. It's
yeah. Well, it's been he's obviously been expanding his footprint up, you know, given now that he's an international superstar. You know, the people's champ, recognizable. Yeah, he's probably getting a lot of business these days.
I've heard he's gone up to 75p.
Wow.
Inflation.
Forex. Yeah, inflation.
He's worth it though. He's got a very pretty mouth.
Yeah, talking of inflation and things going up, Bitcoin. And we don't ever cover the price. What we do here and there, but as we speak right now, middle of February 2023, Bitcoin has gone up and things are looking bullish. And at the same time, fiat is accelerating downwards too. So you want to talk to us about where we're at?
Yeah, because the main reason why I shoved this in story number one is, you know, we were talking about Bitcoin's price last week and going, it's pretty boring. And it's just kind of funny, like literally, I think the following day,
it was
20%. I'm like, oh,
yeah, it was
we've had months and months of pretty much like no more than 5% really either way, and pretty much staying in the same price range, other than just ticking up nicely. It's been a nice little gradual kind of incline, and then suddenly, pretty much when we came off the call last week, like from about $20,000 straight over 25, you know, pretty much 25%. You go, oh, that was a nice little pump. Come down a little bit since then. So 24.5 as we're speaking now. Still, you know, it's again, we're in this is a nice another uptick, right? Yeah. And so we're just linking to a tweet here that just says, yeah, Bitcoin's accelerating up and fiat is just accelerating down. And we just quoted in this tweet from Lyle Pratt, and he just says, the deficits will accelerate, the debasement will accelerate. We're dealing with exponential curves and people simply can't wrap their minds around exponential growth. Bitcoin under $1 trillion market cap today is silly.
It is, isn't it, to think.
Yeah, this is literally a tweet version of the analogy we used before with the Titanic. Yeah. The Titanic is taking on more water. The hole's never been bigger, and the life rafts have kind of never been cheaper. Everyone can kind of get aboard right now. It's just silly that not more people are on the life rafts. Like, why aren't they not? You know, all the debt, all the countries that owe each other money, all these debts are getting higher. The inflation, it's getting bigger and faster. And it's happening everywhere, right? There's no place, and we've said this again before, where, oh, but we're just picking Venezuela and Argentina. And no, we are picking everywhere. We're picking the UK, we're picking America, we're picking Germany. And it's not like we're ignoring 5 countries that are doing great. Everybody, it's just everyone's doing bad. It's just how bad. And there's certain countries that, have fallen off the cliff. Nigeria, Venezuela, Argentina, they fell. Turkey, they've fallen. They're there. But where's everyone else getting? It's like everyone's just getting up.
Everyone
to
else
the top
is
of the
in
hill.
the queue. Everyone, exactly. Everyone's in the queue.
No one's sat at the bottom just loving life, going, no, inflation doesn't do any bad things. Look, we're great. We've had 5% inflation forever. It's all good. There's no country saying that. Everyone is trying to make their inflation about 2 to 3%, and nearly everyone is at least 10 to 15, and the worst are at 50 to 100. And to not see that the 10 to 15 is not coming back down to 2, it's going to continue up to hyperinflation. That's the path. That's the journey we're on. And Bitcoin under 1 trillion, it's just silly. It's, gold is 10 times that. The US dollar is about 500 times that. It's just insane that, Bitcoin is such a small market cap, and, people say it's too late. They missed the boat. It's still so cheap. People will be saying Bitcoin for 1, 2, 5 million pounds a coin soon enough, and they'll go, oh, I thought it's too late at 20k. Right, yeah.
Definitely agree. And what I find astonishing is that, I've said this before, but we live in such an information-rich age. And previously I've kicked myself because I was I asleep at the wheel and not aware of it? But to not question, okay, what are we on? 2009 Bitcoin. So we're 14 years in, aren't we, for Bitcoin? At least go and do a little bit of research about what this thing is, or put yourself through through some punishment of listening to the 4Bs every week and see what these guys are actually talking about, because they might be onto something. And then at the same time, look at money, look at why every currency has gone to zero. Question, why are we saying that fiat is being debased? And you'll find many examples, as you said, all across the globe. There is not one country that doesn't have this happening within it. And there's a further example, because every country is equally trying to hurry to rush and get out their version of a CBDC as well. And they're doing that so then they can continue the scam, I guess, but just in a new wrapper, in a new digital format. Because fiat is digital, it's programmed to go to zero, but it's just in a new format. And so when you start to look at this, you'll realize, if you pay attention, where to actually move your focus to. And we have, hence the reason why we're the hosts of the show, and we want you to equally join in on board. And I think this leads us really nicely into the next story, which is one that I came across and I've always thought about, and again goes back to the reasoning as to why people should think about investing into Bitcoin, even though they think, oh, it's too late. And how much is enough to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders? Because if you start something, imagine being in that elite group, and you might think, wow, to be in the top 1% of Bitcoiners, I'll never make it. And when I was looking at not just this clip in terms of the agenda, and obviously you can click through, I tried to do some further research on it. there's varying different numbers which I arrived at, and it'd be interesting to hear and see what you got to. But the range was between 0.28 Bitcoin all the way up to 15 Bitcoin to be in the top 1%. Now, 15, as we speak right now, is a hell of a long way to get to, as opposed to once back in the day. But equally, 0.28 isn't as difficult if you just DCA away. But even if we were just talking and having this conversation last week, it's getting further and further away for everybody to do so.
Yeah. So
what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a great video, number one. I think the guy does well. Lots and lots of stats in here. And yeah, I think there's two top 1%, isn't there? Like you said. There's just, do you want to be in the top 1% of the population's
correct
wealth? And at the moment, to be in the top 1% of the globe in Bitcoin holders, you only need 0.02 Bitcoin. Just 2% of Bitcoin, essentially. So what's that, like 20,000 sats? It's not a huge amount of money. But if you want to be in the top 1% of Bitcoiners, then yeah, the number that I thought was the most believable in the video that you did, I think it's roughly right, is 3.3 Bitcoin.
Correct, yeah.
And that sounded about right. I think, yeah, 15, I think, is far too high.
Yeah, I thought that.
Yeah, because there are some super whales, right? There's people in there with tens of thousands of Bitcoin. But they're, you know, they really are, you can almost count them on like two hands, that the people that have managed to do that. But the majority of people, I think, are much, much lower than that. And you know, we can we can track the wallets, can't we, and see how many wallets have how many Bitcoin in. You never know who necessarily owns all of them, so there could be some secret whales hidden in there. They've just broken all their Bitcoin down into 5 Bitcoin stacks, but they have 1,000 of them. I'd hate to do fucking backup words on that bad boy, but who knows? Maybe. I don't think they would. I don't think they probably would care. They just probably split them over 10 wallets or something, But yeah, but I think 3 Bitcoin is probably about right. So if you want to be in the top 1% of Bitcoiners, try and get 3 Bitcoin. Like, yeah, it's probably
3.3, wasn't it? Was his final analysis.
Yeah, but it's but that price for most people is going to be pretty unobtainable, especially immediately. Yeah. It's not obtainable if you start DCAing in for a number of years. People could get to that. I know people. It's like yourself and Doc 10%. My brother, and there's a couple of other people that all looked at this and just went, "Oh, I'm probably never going to be a whole coiner." But Correct. They've just believed, they've stuck it out, and now they're popping out, and you have a much bigger stat than you ever thought you would have. And it's like, you had conviction, and you just did it for years, and it's amazing what can happen. The price goes up, the price comes down. You just kept stacking regardless, and the price ends up going back up again, and you go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
and you just go, "Well, yeah, you did well." Like that's how you do it. Like it's literally like your fitness journey. Oh, I'm never going to be fucking ripped with a 6-pack and all that. Well, no, not immediately. But if you do a little and often for 3 years, you probably will have the 6-pack. But if you don't ever start, you're always going to think, "I'm miles away. I'm like 5 stone overweight." Start. And it's the same with your Bitcoin journey. "Oh, I don't know Bitcoin. I don't know what I'm doing." Just start buying £10 a week, £10 a month. Then if you get a bit more conviction, £20 a month, £20 a week, and then you're 50, then 100, and then whatever you can afford. And before you know it, you're probably remortgaging your house and fucking going all in and being a fucking nutter like idiots like me. And that's when you go, there we go. And then when the rewards come, you go, "I fucking earned that."
Yeah.
It wasn't just one little decision, because I think people just expect that, one day 50 grand is just going to land in my lap, and that'll be the day I'll buy a load of Bitcoin. Then that day's not coming. it's unrealistic. You know,
So
this random day,
unrealistic.
but what the day that will happen is, do you have £100 that maybe you could use to start stacking? That day is today. You could do it today. Start. And then next month, do it again. And I think that's the trick, right? And as we see in here, and I've linked, I don't know if you saw, but I linked a website as well, basically Bitcoins per person.
Ah, no, I've seen it.
So bitcoinsperperson.com. I think we've had this on the podcast before, but it's a really simple website. So at the moment, for the world population, it's pretty much at 8 billion. There's currently 19 million Bitcoin been mined so far. So there's another 2 to go. So at the moment, to have your fair share of that Bitcoin that is available, you would have 242,000 sats, which is 0.002. So it's a tiny amount of sats, right? Which essentially means that it's $59 worth. So that's about £50 worth. And the top 0.01 would have 0.7 of a Bitcoin. So, we talked about the top 1% here. We're talking about the 0.001. So tiny, tiny, tiny amount. And you need less than a Bitcoin for that. So
it's a great website.
It is just so early. It's these are the key stats you want, really, isn't there? And there's a quote from Satoshi Nakamoto in here going, "It might make sense just to get some in case it catches on. If another people think the same way, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy." And I think
yes, it changes dynamically in terms of the sentence of obviously. Don't know what time lapse it's on, because it's being updated in real time in terms of the Bitcoins and the people, but I guess the sentences below will change as well.
Yeah. But so at the moment, if you've got £50 worth of Bitcoin, then you have your share of what's available. That's how easy it is to get it. Try to get like your share of Amazon shares or fiat money. It's impossible. Unless you have tens of millions. It's not possible to get your fair share of that thing. But Bitcoin,
well, of course,
right now,
with that, there can always be more made.
Yeah.
It will never actually be fair. And Bitcoin is this moving target, and this moving target is increasing typically, especially in this bullish period of what we're going through. So you've got to get on it and get some. But once you've got some, then you've calculated and you've got to the point where you've got your stack, and that stack can never be changed. You're not going to wake up one day and it's 21 million.2. No, that's it. It's finite. You've got what you need in order to be in that top percentage of people.
Yeah. And it costs £50 to have.
Yeah.
8
probably
billion.
Worth it.
8 billion people, 19.2 million Bitcoin that's currently out and in circulation. Dividing those numbers down, you get £50. That's the amount of money you need to have had your fair share of Bitcoin today. So if you stack £100, you've stolen someone else's. Like you've got.
That's where I was going to go next as well.
If you get £200, that's 3 people that haven't got their share. And guess what? You're right. They have to pay more. They have to pay more to have the same amount of Bitcoin as you. So it is important. You don't want to be too late. The thing is, you're not right now. It's 14 years in. You've had 14 years worth of notice that money is changing from fiat to Bitcoin. And still, to get your fair share only costs 50 quid. That is one hell of a... Even if you think Bitcoin is a big pile of shit, how is it not worth spending £50 on just getting some? just in case.
Yeah.
Just,
Just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case. Because I don't think game theory is talked about a lot in terms of like Bitcoin. The term is bandied around, but it is exactly that. We're all in this race to get to 21 million, and we fully appreciate, as we are in our lives right now, we will not see the end of 2140. But whilst we're here, there will come a time and a period where, as with most inventions, round about the 20-year mark, so 2029, 2030, this is going to just skyrocket and take off. There's going to be no change, as we know, in the code. But by that point, there will be enough trust in it, meaning that people will certainly start to pay more attention to it than they already are. So at that point, if you've stolen, and I use that word in inverted commas, if you've stolen somebody else's share, they can't get there. And they're going to be looking at you envious. And this game of, actually, I've just stolen another two people's allocations worth because I've put £100 in more. If you think about it like that, each and every time, you start to then look at things slightly different, as well as the money that you would have used or saved would have just gone down in value had you have just kept it in fiat, unless you're putting it into, an asset of some sort. But most assets of some sort equally won't continue to go up as fast as the fastest horse in the race.
Yeah. Start off as a backup plan. Start off the Bitcoin journey as a hedge, as a just in case. And then slowly but surely you'll go, oh, hold on, I probably should put a sizable amount of my net worth in this. And then before you know it, you'll be all in. It's
good to have these little milestones. I definitely think so as well. A little bit. So your starting point is here, and then you're working towards maybe the 0.2, and then you're working towards the half coin, and then the whole coin, and then maybe eventually the 3.3 and above. And then from there, you'll be at such a decent stack, and you'll be in that mentality of, right, I'm a Bitcoiner for sure. You'll just wonder, oh gosh, I've just not got enough. Literally, that's all I ever think. I've just not got enough.
And there's always someone with a bit more. There's always a bit of fiat you could probably grind out of another part of where you're living and what you're doing. And And
so whilst we're talking about not having enough, someone that's got more than enough is our stalwart, Mr. Michael Saylor, a regular guest on the pod, virtually, not physically, and he explains why diversification to him doesn't make sense in a recent interview.
Yeah, do you want me to play it?
Yeah, I was thinking that. It's only just a minute, isn't it? So if you've got it queued up, it'd be good to hear him.
I try and share my screen as well so people can see it. You see that? Oh, no.
Not just yet. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. We're in.
You got it.
Yeah.
It's not conviction. It's just rational thinking for yourself. Are you moving your entire family to Zimbabwe right now because you have conviction? Or let me reverse it. Why is it that you don't move your entire family to Zimbabwe, sell all your stuff, and buy the Zimbabwe dollar? Why is it that you don't do that? Because of conviction, or just because it seems quite obvious to you that's not a good idea?
I won't say that conviction is when you don't do something, but when you go all in on something, I would say that does take conviction. Your conviction might.
How many chairs are you sitting on right now?
One.
Are you all in on the chair?
I am all in on the chair.
the point really is you put on one pair of glasses, you've got one pair of AirPods right now. You're looking at me through one screen. You're using one microphone. That's a one microphone. Like, you trust it? Is that conviction? Seems kind of scary. Why don't you diversify? Why don't you use 10 microphones? The point really is things in your life. Did you drive in 10?
I love that microphone comment, especially because we're rocking the same, aren't we?
Yeah.
Did you see his? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the good old Yeti Blue, hasn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. It's great though, right? Because the thing is though, I both love this clip and also disagree with Michael at the same time. Because I would say I do have conviction in Bitcoin. But then I like the fact that I think what's happened here is the guy's gone, oh, you really have got huge conviction and like confidence in Bitcoin, and you just go, well, no, it's just, you know, like with chairs, microphones, cars, money, you tend to just have one of these things, right? You have the best one that you can afford, and that's the one you have. You don't have 10 of them just in case one breaks, because that's just wasting 9 and they're just going to sit there and go old. And you use the one. If that breaks, you buy another one. And yeah, and when you buy a microphone, it's not like and the thing is, the guy answered the question wrong, right? Michael wanted him to go a different way. He went, are you all in on your chair? Well, no one's all in on their fucking chair, right? It's just a chair. It's like, I haven't put my entire net worth into a chair. So he should have said no to that. And I think that's what he means with Bitcoin, really. It's a case of, well, no, I've just moved my unit of account from fiat to Bitcoin. And if you really get into the right mindset, I'm not all in on it at all. It's just, I haven't brought anything with that Bitcoin yet. I just converted to a sound of money. And then what I use my Bitcoin for is necessarily what I have conviction in. You know, so what I invest in afterwards, the things that I buy, the thing, maybe a business that I set up, but who knows what the things are. That's where the conviction starts to come in. But just converting from dollars into Bitcoin, I think Michael's basically going, well, that's just obvious. That, you know, but I have conviction maybe about the yacht that I buy and the boat that goes inside the yacht. I really research those things. But Bitcoin's just a no-brainer now. And so I think that's where we're going. What do you think?
Well, so for me, I've always, openly been bricks and Bitcoin, as I like to use the B's, which is property in Bitcoin. And I like bricks from a cash flow perspective, but Bitcoin more from a wealth perspective and obviously a sound of money. And I try to always think, okay, where are things going to go? You know, again, we've talked about the debasement of money and why Bitcoin is the future. And when you understand it, it makes sense to be part of it and to be all in on it. And for Saylor, some people might say it's super easy because he's a billionaire. So if he loses what he's got, well, he'll be okay. And then, he's also got another B, which is a business to back up, where if things go completely tits up, he can always fall back on MicroStrategy, a multi-million, if not maybe billion-dollar business. So it may be hard for the average person, and this is why I love the pod as well. We are always talking to the average everyday person of what to do and what they can do to, again, get on the life raft of life, essentially. And so diversify or go all in. Diversify at your peril. Don't go all in at your peril equally as well, isn't it? It's like if you don't get a little bit, then that's the wrong move. But if you go all in I don't know. You can't go wrong, really. You can't go wrong if you go all in.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that this is where I think a couple of the quotes I've said over the years, it all comes to play, really, because obviously I missed all in, right? So I went all in, and I've been all in for a number of years. And the other quote is, "You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve."
Yeah.
So everyone will end up all in the end, right? Because when you switch from one currency to another, everyone switches. It's just when people switch. So when we went to a gold standard, there was a number of countries that were on copper standards, silver standards. Some were still using rhinestones and shells. And it was, I think, India, Japan, I think, were very massive proponents of silver. So they just refused to buy gold. They were silver advocates all the way. They picked the wrong form of money and ended up being losing their entire globes or countries' net wealth because they picked the wrong form. Gold ended up being, well, silver was worth 2% of what gold ended up being worth. So they lost pretty much everything. They lost 98% of their money power compared to the countries that picked gold. And so eventually, guess what they did? Converted to gold, but at the 98% difference, which just basically meant everything they've been working for generation after generation after generation, their entire country's wealth eroded completely because they held an asset that just was left behind in the dust. And when they finally capitulated, they pretty much were taken into slavery for a number of years and were in decades and hundreds of years of poverty. Now, this what we're going to do here, right? This is going to be the switch from fiat into Bitcoin. And there's going to be some early adopters. There's going to be some people in the middle. There's going to be some laggards. So eventually, everybody is going to convert all of their money into Bitcoin. It's just that some people are going to do it today at $20K or $25,000. Others are going to do it at 50. Some are going to do it 100, 200, a million, 5 million. And some are going to do it. They're going to hold that fiat when it is a tiny percentage.
To the death.
And they're still going to be holding it going, Bitcoin's going to die, the US dollar or the euro or the pound, the military backlist, they're still going to be holding the normal tropes of why fiat works. And right at the end, they're going to try and just go to their local shop and buy a loaf of bread for like £10,000 of British pounds. And they're going to go, no, but I accept a tiny fraction of a Bitcoin. And then go, fuck, I need to convert my money to Bitcoin, don't I? And so that's the whole thing, right? You get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. So you can do your 10%, you can do your 20%, you can do your 50, you can do 90, you can do whatever. But if you're not at 100, all you're doing is accepting that money is going to get converted at a higher price. That's what you're doing, really. So that's fine. That's the decision you're making. And depending on your risk profile, you can either have 50% out, 40, 30, 10, 5, or just 1. But all you're doing is going, yeah, it's fine. I'm happy buying Bitcoin at 10 times the price that it is today, just in case I'm wrong. And you go, okay. And as your conviction grows, which is why I like the word conviction, disagreeing with Michael, is once you're really sure about Bitcoin, you just get to 100 so fucking quick. And the only money you take out of fiat is you spend it straight away. And then any spare change you shove back into Bitcoin again. You just don't want to be out. You're like, this is the money, right? I don't want any of that shit. It's literally like being back on Yap Island and gold's landed and everyone's in rhinestones. I'm looking around going, these rhinestones aren't going to be worth shit. I know everyone values them today, and we have for generation after generation after generation. But I think this gold thing, it's got something on the stones. I've seen them. I've seen the big boats and the dynamite. And I think the stones aren't as scarce as they used to be when we used canoes and spades. So I think I'm getting out of rhinestones and I'm going to get into gold. And so it's happening. It's just, yeah. So it's just, if you're going to leave your 20, 30% on the side and go, I'm happy with that. You go, okay, well, that 30% will end up in Bitcoin in the end. It's just probably going to end up in it 10 to 100x the price that it is today.
It's funny. I know we've spoken about especially barbers because you have that relationship with them. And my barber today, he was the one that brought it up, saying, "Oh, Bitcoin price has gone up, hasn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I've seen that it's gone up from where it used to be." And I said to him, "I was buying when it was 13s." He's like, "What?" Yeah. So when everyone was scared, I was there buying it in the 13s recently. Right. And we've had this conversation over the years. I think I might get some. You can just buy small, just get a little bit anytime you want. You don't need to go in now, go in when it goes even higher. And it's that flipping in your mind to be like, I don't want it when it's high. I want it when it's low. And I'm actually annoyed when people were messaging me saying it's going higher. And I'm like, fuck, because that means I'm going to pay more for it. As I keep looking, I want to keep it as low as possible for as long as possible so I can get as much as possible. But people will get Bitcoin when they deserve it, for sure, at the price of what they deserve. And if you're not listening now, then hey, when it's 100K and you can only get, obviously, where it is today, 5 times less than what you could have got, because you chose to wait until that time.
In my head as well, 25K is such a high price for Bitcoin. I still haven't quite got used to the fact that it went to 69. But the fact that it did, it just means it doesn't get any attention. It's just no one gives a shit. It's still less than half the all-time high. So Bitcoin going up by 25% in 2 days, just no one cares.
Yeah, because you do reset after such a long time. Those 60s, 69, 88, like that feels, if anything, like it didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, it was so fleeting as well, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was.
We were kind of around the 25K mark, I think, for quite a while, and then we just went straight from 25 to 69, and then 69 down to like 15. It was pretty brutal, but
scary ride.
But another scary ride is the fiat banking system, right? So this is again Marty Bent, our friend Marty Bent, friend of the show. He's nearly on every week now that I've signed up for his newsletter and regularly get his newsletters in my inbox. And he's just stumbled across a very interesting fact that probably not many people know, that currently the US banking system,
correct, yeah,
they have a requirement to back deposits to the massive percentage of zero.
Well, they have no requirement right now, isn't it? So essentially, there is no life raft there in the banks where you're depositing in. So we had the conversation not so long ago. So it's fantastic that you found this article whereby we're talking about the FCSS. That's right, FSCS, which is the one in terms of backing British individuals' money up to the value of £80,000 in the event that a bank would default and become bankrupt. But in the US, they're saying that they have no funds, zero on account in the event that they were to go bankrupt, or that they just simply have to back up your money. So I think the case of the matter that once you deposit your money, they are, taking that money and gambling away with it and doing whatever. And essentially it is just numbers on a screen. And those numbers on that screen, it's there. But if you were all to withdraw your money, as in all of the customers of that bank were to withdraw their money, they would limit the amount of money that you were able to withdraw. So if we all clubbed together and said at 12 p.m. tonight, I'm going to, take 12 a.m. tonight, I'm going to take my money out, and you do the same, and you do the same, and you do the same, they would not be able to fulfill all of those orders. And that's because there is no money backing that.
The crazy thing is that because there's a 0% reserve requirement, it literally means when you deposit your money, they can take 100% of it and just gamble it.
Yeah.
So if they literally did that, because legally, the regulators, and we all talk about regulation.
Yeah.
And the regulators, since 2008, the regulation on banks has been super strict. They've made sure there's not going to be another big collapse. And to be fair, they did for quite a while. The reserve requirement was very high. I don't think it's ever been 100, which is kind of nuts because whenever the regulators come after Bitcoin, it has to be 100. It has to be 1-to-1. At no point can you go below that number. But in banking, I don't think it's ever been that high. And I think it started with around 80 or something. So over those 15 years, that 80% is whittled away to zero. Now, if the banks really did this, it would basically mean that if you just went to take £10 out of a cash machine, they wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
But this potentially, they couldn't even fulfill your £10 cashback, because they took your money, and it's like giving your money to a degenerate gambler, and then he just put it on the blackjack table and gambled it. But what he told you was, you've got to guarantee 2% a year, mate. You're like, okay, here's my £1,000. I'll collect my 2% a year. And then at some point you just go, can I take £10 out of my 1,000? I just want to buy a beer. And he's like,
or was saving for the kids' college fund, to buy a new house, the car, or emergencies.
And he just turns around and goes, no. And you go, hold on, you can't. What did you do with it? It's like, I gambled it on blackjack and lost it all. And you hold on, like, you're not allowed to do that. And you check your paperwork. I am. I lost. You got to go and apply to the insurance fund, and it's insured. You go, hold on, how much other people's money did you have? Oh, about 60 million. Or are they all applying? Yeah. I'd get in the queue first because they're not going to have enough money to pay out. I've got a big fucking debt. And again, why this, again, not only is that like a massive point, right? The tweet actually says that there's a guy, I think this is it's a tweet, but they've copy and pasted or screenshotted a LinkedIn article. And this guy is basically just gone, not to call you out too much, but less than 4% of correspondents to this survey who work in banking know that the current reserve requirement ratio in the United States is 0. That's 0%. 6 respondents who hold executive positions at banks, none of them got the correct answer. One respondent is a former executive at the FDIC. So the people that even work in banking don't know that banking is as reckless as it is right now, because the people that work in banks, 99.9% of them are good, hard-working people. The 0.1% of people are the ones running them, working with the US government and fucking everything up.
Well, they made this during the pandemic as well. So it's like they did it on purpose, knowing that more people, obviously they're getting their stimulus checks, but money was coming, just being printed willy-nilly, wasn't it? It's crazy.
It's nuts, right?
And scary.
It is a terrifying, right? This is, again, I don't know how many canaries in the coal mine we need, but the canaries, there's a number of canaries in a cage and they're all dead. Are you going to walk into the coal mine? They're there for a reason, right? And this is yet again one of them, right? When the Great Short, the Big Short happened, and the entire housing market collapsed and took all the banks down with them. We all went, oh, look, what are the things to look out for? You know, it's the banks holding hardly any reserves, everyone getting loans, you know, money printing going crazy. All these things over the last 14 years have all happened again. And we're right on the precipice of it right now.
Yeah.
The banks literally, for every pound you put in there, they are required to hold £0. So where the fuck's your pound gone?
I would love one day for there to be a quiz where someone sifts through all 87 episodes to date, and obviously wherever we get to in terms of the 4Bs, and say, how many canaries were in the coal mine of stories that the 4Bs gave to everybody to say, maybe they're onto something here? Because this is, again, one of those stories whereby you can turn around and say, I told you so. I really did tell you so. And, you know, this is written in law. It's regulatory that they don't have to have anything backing it. And equally as well, it's legal. It is legal for them to take your money, and equally, when they have possession of your money, that money is no longer your money, it is their money. So it worries me, because naturally you don't want to be keeping, you know, large sums of money in your house. So, you know, you don't necessarily want to have cash, and we'll probably come on to that when we talk, you know, on our end story. So you have to keep it secure, but where are you going to put it? Where does the average person put it? It's one of those, right?
Okay, so Inflation Weekly. It's a shame.
Inflation, right?
Here.
I know. He loves it, doesn't he?
He's going to be sat on his sun lounger, just jizzing his pants, as we say. Inflation Weekly.
Inflation. He's going to probably skip all of the trolling that we've done about him from the beginning of the pod and just skip straight to Inflation Weekly, because this is his favourite part where he gets a boner.
Yeah, he's definitely, at the very least, a semi.
Yeah.
And this is even his article from the week. It's one of it's one of his little professors that he follows. Professor John Hearn. Never heard of the guy, but he seems super, I would say, red-pilled as opposed to orange-pilled, because he gets it. He gets.
Do you know what I was saying about being asleep at the wheel? I think that this is Dr. Evil 10%'s trigger, inflation. He's been so triggered ever since he's understood inflation. Any sign of it, he's on it. And it's just like, and there's another one here, and another one here. How dare they? And look at this. They're inflating my money away here too. He's probably on holiday as he speaks right now, talking about the currency to the locals. Did you know? And wishing for a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah. But they'll come over selling him some sunglasses or a drink, and €8. How much? €5 last time I was here. Fucking inflation.
He'd buy 2 of them last year. Do you know how much it's cost me to get here? And then start ranting about and I've had to pay for the kids too. They were free before, and
the guy's like, bro, do you want a drink or not? And fucking, I've got all day. I don't want to lecture. And no, you can't buy it in Bitcoin either. Fuck off.
Yeah. Your ice is melted, and I'm going to charge you for that now.
But yeah, so this is a story, right? So it's a story. It's 2 parts. So the first part is actually what I would do. I'll share it. Let's just share it.
Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile doing that.
So here we are. So this is just an article from the Times saying keep public sector pay rises below 5%, says Treasury. So I'll tell you what's that interesting about that. Well, there is a nice little conversation that our Professor John Hearn has put together. And what it essentially says is, so we have a bloated government sector that we can't afford. We can't lay people off or cut their wages, but I'm told that you may have a cunning plan that not one person in a million can see through. This is how you cut the wage bill and you don't have to lay anyone off. Think of a good cause. Suppose there was a winter virus that could be controlled by telling everyone to stay at home. You promise to pay their wages and ask the central bank to QE, quantitative ease, the necessary money. You'll be very popular and you may become PM. Won't that cause inflation though? Yeah, but not for 18 months, and inflation is only an average. So some prices like energy or food may rise more than others, and there may be a war somewhere that you can blame for causing these rises. It's only a myth, but I call this cost push inflation. Suppose inflation is 8%, you now have lowered real wages in the public sector by 8%. So what do I do if the public sector workers ask for a wage increase? Well, you tell them that will only fuel more inflation, and that for the good of the country, they must help in the battle against inflation. If they make threats, then give them 3%, and they will thank you, and you have lowered wages by 5%. Is there anything I should be aware of? Yeah, don't let inflation reach double digits. I'm currently writing an article on the psychology of double digits. The media will pick up on this, and the workforce will become more aggressive.
Exactly.
What do I do then? Give them a wage increase linked to inflation, wait until inflation is back on target, and get it right next time. It is pretty.
It's a script there, isn't there? Exactly.
And that is Keynes, right? That is the lesson of Keynes. That is how we got inflation, and it's how you placate the public. It's just there in the story, right? It's just inflate the money by 8%, and if they're going to complain, so you give them a wage increase of 3%, they think they're happy, right? Because they see in their pay packet 3% more money than they had last year, but their spending power of that money has gone down by 5%, and they have the 5%. They have it. And it's just genius. It's just you're stealing via inflation, and the monetary units that you get go up, but the spending power goes down. That is the genius of where, because like taxation is much more brutal, right? It's if you have a 20% tax and they up it to 25%, you can see the units of money that you get is gone down by 5%. It's right there. But with this one, it's like, no, the units of money that you get goes up by 3%. How can you be losing? How can you be losing if you had if £100 last week and now you have 103? You have £3 more. Not if they increase the supply by 8. You actually have 5% less. But most people can't join the dots to get to that bit.
Absolutely. It's the classic magic trick of look into my eyes, but at the same time, I'm pulling your trousers down. It's unbelievable because this is happening in plain sight. And again, not a lot of people understand what is going on, but it's happening not just here in the UK or in the US, everywhere. So, another Inflation Weekly brought to you by Dr. Evil 10%. I'm sure he'll be loving the fact that we covered this, and we'll be looking for next week's Inflation Weekly Corner to continue the rant on inflation as well.
Yeah, if you ever listen to the Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant, Carl Pilkington podcast?
No, I haven't, no.
They have a segment on there called Monkey News.
Okay.
Hold on, I just want they have such a funny intro, right? I just wanna, this is gonna be live, so I don't know.
Rick, it's that time again.
Right, watch this, right? I just want, at some point, this is for Dr. 10%, not for me or for you. But I just think at some point we should have an intro which is a bit similar to this, right?
Can you do the jingle for us?
Monkey News. Oh, chimpanzee Monkey News.
That's all it is, right? So, and every week, and then Carl would just talk about monkey news, and you'd have like, oh, there's a monkey that's flying a spaceship and it went to Mars, and Ricky would be like, you fucking idiot, no, it didn't. And I just think we need a jingle, is my long and short of that.
An inflation weekly jingle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
When we get to it, Dr. 10% has to go, oh, chimpanzee that, fucking inflation weekly. Oh, Janet Yellen that. Oh, inflation weekly.
I'm sure he can come up with something, and maybe there's going to be some regular characters, like you just said, that he'll talk about. Klaus might get a shout out one week, and obviously Janet Yellen again. But yeah, I think he'll love that inflation weekly.
Yeah, if not, I'll just do it. I just think we need to do it. Anyway, last story of the week. We have Andrew
It's quite
Tate.
sad, this story, I felt.
Yeah. Well, yet again, like fucking the government steal a load of Bitcoin.
Yeah. This is what I don't get, because I read through the article, of course. So we're talking about Andrew and Tristan Tate, who are still, as we speak, imprisoned 2 months after initially being arrested.
Yeah, at least now.
And they have, this article is reporting that Andrew Tate has had 5 Bitcoin taken from him and Tristan 16, which I love, because Tristan, of course, is the, not the fact that it's been taken, but Tristan is the younger brother of Andrew, and I guess equally the lesser known of the two, but the bigger Bitcoiner of the two, which is fantastic to know. But the fact that the money has been, or the Bitcoin has been stolen somehow, does that mean that they've been broken in terms of giving up the passwords, or did they have passwords attached to the ledger, or how does this happen?
Yeah, I don't know. So he's had $4 million worth of cars, homes, and cash seized. And it says they had a pair of digital wallets. Like I said, Andrew had 5 on his and Tristan had 16 on his. So what I would imagine they have had to do here is go tell us the passwords. And I think the rumor is they've got way more than this. So these might be the decoy ones, which you give the passwords over. You kick up a fuss and go, no, it's all my money. No, you're gonna ruin me. And you give them the thing, and so for because the thing is, like 21 million Bitcoin at the moment is worth $500,000. To Andrew Tate, that isn't a lot of money. Like
it's not a lot of money.
He had a lot of money, a lot of money. I would guess into the hundreds of millions that this guy had.
And by the way, I feel like
Bitcoin as well.
If he sees the light of day again, when those interviews start rolling out and he comes back out, Top G is going to be bigger than Top G was previously. And he's going to be talking. And he's going to be talking all the shit.
Yeah, now he's done some time as well, so he's got that.
Correct.
Got that, like, badge of honor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a point. It's how did they get into the wallets? And it's weird how it's 21 Bitcoin, right?
Exactly. So that makes me think, really? 21? You've got it? They gave it up? Like,
but it's 21, not like 21's the magic number, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like they've gone, let's leave 21 on those two in the safe that everyone finds. But then in the safe that no one finds out the back, that's where we have our real Bitcoin hoard. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they've caved and given them the codes for this. Because they've seized all this, right? It doesn't mean it's theirs now. If Tate gets off, then technically it means everything has to be returned to him, right?
Yeah.
They're obviously assuming at the moment that it won't be, and they seem to be prosecuting him as if it's, you know, a guilty verdict, and they're just trying to find stuff in any shape or form to convict him. They obviously want to silence this guy. But
and whilst we're talking about Tate, whoever is the mastermind behind Tate's Twitter, speaking in the voice of Andrew Tate, brilliant. Because the tweets that are still coming out are fantastic.
yeah, I think some of them are scheduled tweets that he has written himself, but like just gone. Like,
but then some of them are referencing the fact
Yeah.
that he's not
some of them
there.
definitely are. Like, yeah. Okay, he's carrying on, isn't he? But yeah,
Yeah.
it just shows though. This is the problem, right? So we say Bitcoin is unconfiscatable. Well, it is, unless they put a gun to your head or a lifetime prison sentence on your head.
Yeah.
And you go, look, you can have 5 years for this if you give us all your codes, give us all your money, give us all your Bitcoin. Or you can have 400 years and keep the code to yourself. So now suddenly you're in that situation, which is, again, this always comes back to, you know, respecting the government at least to a point of the threat that they pose. That's the level I respect my government. I don't respect them for anything else other than the fact that they pose a very real threat to putting me in a cage for the rest of my life. And I do not want to go in that cage. So pay your taxes, stay on the right side of the law. They're going to fall anyway. But as a Bitcoiner, unless you're going to live a life of being completely anonymous, moving around, and committing to that, you can never really settle down, because they will get you. Someone will get you if you settle down. And Andrew Tate has been a very public guy who's been speaking out. He is a Bitcoiner. So I don't think for a second between the two brothers, they have 500,000. If they don't have 50 or 100 million of Bitcoin, I'd be amazed. So, because he even says in this article, right, he's got this thing where he was trying to move money between his banks, and you just can't. They ask questions, they're like, what's it about? And sometimes it's like, well, it's not about anything. I've got a bank account in Romania, I've got a bank account in America, I've got a bank account in UK, and I just want to split the money. None of your fucking business, really, but I just want to move the money. And he literally says, whereas in Bitcoin, I press 2 buttons, it cost me 35 cents, and it's done in 3 minutes. That's why Bitcoin will never go to zero. And so I'm pretty sure he's obviously completely realizes the government scam of money control and the matrix that they try and keep us in, to stop realizing the reality of money and the fact that we are living in essentially just a fake computer game version of life, where this silly paper money has value when it literally has not. It's just completely made up, and whereas Bitcoin is not. So yeah, who knows? It's a shame that there's another 21 Bitcoin taken off the market and is being held by a Romanian government now. But
I think that the brothers, once we finally get to an understanding, because they're on money laundering charges and rape charges, it's like, really, let's really understand what's going on, and they've got to be charged eventually. But from what I've read, is that they can continue doing this for another 4 months, so 6 months in total. So they are looking to break them somehow.
It's nuts that you can hold someone for 6 months without charge.
Correct. It's crazy.
Oh, and actually, I've just read this article properly for the first time. Down the bottom, it actually says that his Hustler University, which I must admit I do not approve of whatsoever, but just those digital wallets received 2.5 million worth of Bitcoin. So this 500,000 that's been seized is likely, that's just a fifth of Hustler University. So I'd imagine not only that, Tate and his brother have probably been buying more personally as well. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised that the two ledgers that he left out could well be decoys, with enough money on them to look real, but not with everything on it. So
no,
if he manages to get out, I'm sure he'll get straight out and get to a territory which can't be extradited to Romania or US, and then tell all and be like, I had 50 million on these ledgers and they're fucking idiots. I gave them $500,000. I'll pay $500,000 all day. It takes me a week.
Well, this is the thing. This is why I feel like they may never see the cold light of day, because anyhow he gets out, he's going to be talking, and in a way laughing in their faces. He'll always be forever marked, anything that he does moving forward, but they don't want an enemy of him. I mean, he's already an enemy right now, right? But they don't want him and his following to get out and then to hear the truth. So we will see. One thing I wanted to ask you actually as well, and whilst we've still got time, it's not on the agenda, but we saw Biden and Zelensky hugging this week, and that essentially is money laundering in plain sight. So going back to what we were talking about in the terms of the canaries in the coal mines and all of these things happening, do you want to explain why that is money laundering in plain sight for some of the listeners? Because obviously we talk about it in our closed echo chamber signal group, but for anyone listening and has made it this far.
Yeah, and for anyone that's on LinkedIn that sees any post with Biden or Zelensky on it, I'm probably in the comments getting a load of shit. But yeah, it's just one of them, isn't it? So like, money laundering, like the definition of it really is that I have a form of money and I need to give it to someone else so I can get it at the other end where it be clean, right? So
usually, it looks legit.
Usually it's dirty money, right? So normally it's through illicit, some kind of criminal activity. I need to launder it through maybe a car wash. And at the end of it, I can then get legitimate car wash profit. And I can accept that profit at the end and then go
hairdressers, cash only business.
Yeah, exactly. Hairdressers.
That's what we're talking. Yeah.
Because then, because the only reason why cash only is good is because then it doesn't need, every transaction doesn't need to be tracked. So you can lie that instead of 10 customers coming today, let's just say 100 did instead. You don't need the bank transfer, digital reference. You can just go, an extra 90 customers turned up and they didn't, but you just showed 90 customers worth of money into the till. And at the end, you get your clean money. You can buy a Ferrari. And when the taxman comes and goes, how the fuck have you got a Ferrari? You just go, I run a really successful barber's or car wash. And here's my receipts. Obviously, 90% of the receipts are fake. Yeah. When I was in Puerto Rico, I lived above, there's a laundrette. And I looked up the annual returns for this laundrette, and they were insane. And they hired one girl who worked in there, and I tried to get my laundry done numerous times because I was Airbnb-ing it, didn't have a washing machine. She worked 1 hour a week. Yet, if you look on the signs outside, it said they open at 9 and close at 5 every day, 7 days a week. You could not get that girl in that fucking place. Like she was fucking never there. So I asked a few people.
The Sonia Jackson of laundrette in Puerto Rico. Sonia Jackson.
Yeah. Oh, from fucking EastEnders. I got that link. But then I asked someone, I was like, why the fuck is the laundrette never open? And they went, money laundering. I was like, what are you talking about? I just want to do laundry, not money laundering. And they're like, no, like the business isn't real. They don't do any laundry there. It's just a fake shop front,
It's the front.
and they pretend to do like 4,000 people's laundry a day, and they make like 4 million a year, and no one checks on it. And provided they got a girl there, sometimes that's when the tax man turns up. They can go, oh yeah, it's a legitimate business, and so yeah, so that's money laundering. So the way governments do it is they have a load of dirty money, which essentially is taxpayer money or money printing money, and they need to get access to that. They can't just give it to themselves, because just as drug dealers can't give it to themselves, if big government leaders just go and start buying private jets and islands and stuff, the people start asking questions and go, what the fuck do you get all this money from? And if they just go, well, I printed it over there, gave it to myself, and then brought an island, that's not good, not good press. So the way you do it is you just convert it to military items, so tanks, missiles, guns, bullets. Convert it to that, send it over to the Ukraine, who have nearly zero use for these things. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They haven't got any soldiers that can fire the fucking things. So what they end up doing is selling it for assets. It's just kind of almost like collateral. It's like just converting it to cocaine and then sending it over and having cocaine and going, I got this much cocaine. Okay, great. It's and then you can lend off it, right? You can loan off it. You can lend it into the IMF. So, and obviously by buying the stuff as well, which is kind of genius doing this, right? So not only do you convert all these billions into military weapons, the military weapons cost like 80% less than what you paid for them. So straight away, there's a huge profit there. And you have a load of shares in these companies. So straight away, you rake off huge profits just from the conversion into military assets. That's the war machines, like bread and butter. Like, you know, you buy a tank for $500,000.
Because you say that you've sold it to the Ukraine, essentially.
Yeah, but you don't say that you bought a load of tanks for $500,000 that cost 40 grand to build. You missed that bit off. So the fact that there was 460 grand of profit there per tank, you leave that off and you go, oh, I'm on the board of that company. Well, that's a coincidence. You sound like some racist, like xenophobe, or even asking me the question that am I on the board of that company? The answer is yes. So number one, so that's a great way of carving off a load of money that way. But then even the military assets that go over there, you end up giving them loans, and they sell those kind of guns and assets into the Middle East, and round the corner, like you end up buying it back. Basically, you end up buying the same weapons and stuff back, and you end up with a load of cash sitting in your pocket, and it's clean. Like by the time it's gone through, whether it's profit for the tank or it's a loan from the IMF, or they've sold it to Saudi Arabia, who then sell you oil, and it's all just at a discounted rate because they know the tank came from you in through Ukraine. You end up with a stack of cash back in America with Biden and his cronies all sat there, super fucking rich. You go, hold on, where did all this money come from? Because if you track back, every single dollar will be clean. For the first couple of hoops, the money's clean. If you go back another 7 or so, it's dirty as fuck. And it all started in the US Treasury and getting printed out into this thing. But once it went through 6 hoops, now it looks legit. They threw it through a couple more, then they get it. Now they can buy their mansions, they can buy their cars, they can buy their private island. And they go, this is just capitalism, bro. Do you hate capitalism? Do you want socialism? This is capitalism. Don't hate the player, hate the game. You go, you motherfucker. This is crony capitalism. This is people that are corrupting it from the top and pretending it's capitalism, but you're next to the money printer and you're moving it around governments. And yeah, Biden hugging Zelensky. It's just congrats. We've got the greatest little money laundering scam going of the last decade, since Afghanistan. Like, congrats. We send you. They've literally sent them. I think the last count was about 25 to 30 billion.
Yeah.
It's nuts kind of money. It's nuts. And hardly. How much has that helped other than just?
Well, equally,
most of it in the war
what they're
machine.
trying to do, as we know, is to ensure that they are, well, continuing the Cold War against Russia, and it's propelling Russia to have to use up their reserves, because that's what happens in war. They will be lighting up the gas fires on their money printer to continue to fuel the war, to pay all of the soldiers, to pay for all of the tanks and all of the ammunition on their sides and so forth. So
it'd be the same contractors supplying both sides as well, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. So someone's definitely getting rich. Smith and Wesson is definitely getting rich, as we like to say. And as we know, this can't happen if we were in or if we were on a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
But in the interim, whilst we're still using fiat, this will continue to happen, and this is why also why the US love being at war, or seeking to find some sort of war, because they know that this trick, if you can call it a trick, because everyone knows how the trick works, they love to continue doing it.
Yeah, and you say everyone know it works. I think 5% of people know how it works. The other 95. Every time I comment on this on a LinkedIn article, which is, I always like that, is a bit of a test for really what people think. Because if I say it on Twitter now, I'm just in such a circle of people. I just get a load of comments like bigging me up and like double downing on what I say. But if you say it on LinkedIn, you will get people going, you sound like literally today on that Biden post that you mentioned, someone accused me of being a member of QAnon. I don't even know what QAnon really are. It's just I'm pretty sure they're right-wing, white supremacist, racist kind of dudes. And you go, well, where do you get that from? Like, what? Yeah. I'm just saying Biden and Zelensky and money laundering between the two of them. What's that got to do with racism? Like, so it's always the standard stuff, right? It's just the second you talk out, and the guy that had said it was attached to the military. So I get it. He's probably dedicated the majority of his life to the military. He sees himself as a war hero. And look, and to a certain degree, I don't even diminish anyone that's volunteered and worked in the military in some shape or form. You're not part of this. You think you're fighting for your country. You think you're coming back a war hero and stuff. And I would never do it. And I'm not brave enough to go, or / stupid enough to go put myself in the way of bullets. But you've got to look at the people that are telling you what to do. Who's telling you where to point your gun? And
what's the incentives?
And I have a very horrible suspicion the two people on either side of the war are talking behind the scenes, going, how much money can we make? How long should we carry this war on for? You fight here, I fight here. They know how many lives can get sacrificed. But all they want is lots of tanks made, lots of bullets made. No one checks the profitability about a tank. Literally no one. If you were doing any kind of business, and I'm buying beans off you or salmon, and if salmon, as I say, it costs £1 to fish it, and I buy it, and everyone will go, yeah. So if I'm going to buy it from you, it should be £2 or £3 max. If I bought it for £100, someone would kick off and go, that a salmon doesn't cost £100. Oh. Whereas with a tank, no one knows what a tank costs to make. No one costs what a tank. How do you get a tank from America to Ukraine? How much does that cost? That's where the scam is.
Yeah. Well, also, I think I heard something along the lines of Russia wanted to try to work towards a peace treaty, but of course, America made sure that the Ukraine government declined any sort of peace treaty because it's, we're on to too much of a good thing here. Why would we want that? So, yeah.
Peace isn't possible.
Exactly. Spot on. I know we've gone on a bit of a tangent there, and it wasn't necessarily included in the agenda, and not necessarily anything with regards to Bitcoin. But if you've made it this far, well done. This has been Pod 87, brought to you by Mr. Orlin, aka the $1 Trillion Man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. Yeah, we all include them. Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, even though he's nowhere to be seen gobbling off some tramp. Yeah, I don't even know where he's gone. He could be anywhere in the world. I'm going to say Portugal. I'm going to say, I don't know, wherever 4 hours away is, but, he's noshing someone off anyway. That's not his wife. And then Mrs. No Show, aka No Show. So that's been your show for the week. Back once again next week for some more Bitcoin news, and for now, peace out.